Are you an expert looking for ways to build your business? Do you have an important message that you know is going to impact the lives of others? Do you want to learn from some of the leading experts in a variety of industries on how to position your message, grow your business, and increase your revenues? Then you're in the right place with Power Up for Profits. Hey everybody, it's Kathleen Gage with Power Up for Profits podcast, and today I am really excited to have Joanne Weiland with me. Joanne Weiland invents industries. She is the Chief Connections Officer and founder of the collaborative cloud community LiinkToExpert.com. That's LiinkToExpert.com. You need to check it out. Joanne was a growth hacker before she knew measuring your marketing results was called growth hacking. Because if you can't measure your marketing efforts, don't do it. Joanne has a very successful background in sales and marketing, creating global alliances before it was cool. Joanne is continually interviewed on radio, internet, TV, and podcasts around the world. And one of the reasons I wanted to interview Joanne was she actually knows how to do one thing that a lot of people don't know how to do, and that's pick up the phone. A lot of people don't know how to do that. That's a big part of sales and marketing, and I'm thrilled to have you here, Joanne.
Thank you, Kathleen. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, let's start with you telling me a little bit about, and telling all the listeners a little bit about LiinkToExpert, because that's really how we connected, and it's an amazing platform.
Well, the reason I created LiinkToExpert was for 20 years, Kathleen, I lived on the road. Meaning, like you said about picking up the phone, but also back in the day, you actually physically went to visit your clients, and you did that, what we call the eyeball to eyeball. And my clients happened to be all over North America. So I actually traveled over 1 million miles. I've worked with so many business owners and so many incredible ideas they had. It was just remarkable, the ideas they would come up with. But I found that only 5% of them implemented their ideas. And the 5% that did, because I'm always inquisitive, wanted to know, what got you to implement this? I found that they hired somebody like you, a coach, a consultant, a team builder, a trainer, that could either work with them, the actual executive themselves, or their team, to create these ideas to make them a reality. Because I always think it doesn't matter how many ideas you have, it matters how many ideas you implement. So anyway, the 5% that hired you, I thought that was terrific, but then I still wanted to know why these 95% of these people did not. So what I really found is the average business owner works on their business, they work in their business, not on their business. And meaning by that, they are so busy being busy, as well as many times they didn't know that many people. For an example, maybe they'd go to a chamber meeting once a month. But Kathleen, they'd also sit with the same 5 people at that meeting, so they actually didn't know that many people. And so many times, whoever we are or whatever we do, we kind of think everybody is like us and does what we do. So like in this case, I thought, because I knew so many people and was always connecting people and doing global alliances before global alliances were cool, I just kind of thought everybody did that. So when I discovered that they really knew about 5 people, and of course those 5 people also knew the same 5 people, they didn't really know how to find somebody like you to help them write their book, for an example, or to help them, to get in the media. So anyways, so my original mentor was Norman Vincent. He always said, find a need and fill it. So I was like, okay, this is a need. But, how do we fill it? So anyway, that's how LiinkToExpert got started.
Okay. And now, when did you start LiinkToExpert?
Well, actually, in 2007. But before that, we actually did it the traditional way. So what I was just talking about actually started in 2002. And when I did it the traditional way, meaning connecting executives with experts, but, consultants, coaches, team builders, trainers, facilitators, authors, I was doing it the traditional way, what most people would think of as a speaker's bureau. But I wanted my members to be more like consultants that could speak, because of the fact that I love motivational speakers, but you leave that particular event or whatever, and you're all pumped up, but you go home and nothing changed.
Right.
So I wanted to work with people that could actually make a difference in these organizations, but also be able to articulate what they can do for people so that they would want to work with them and hire them.
Well, let's talk a little bit about networking, because you mentioned chambers, and I actually have been online for since 1997, I think it is. So it's been a while, and during that time, actually prior to that time, I too was a road warrior. I had put on not quite 1 million miles. I think it was in about a year, it was a few 100,000, or 4 years, it was a few 100,000 miles. But what I did at that time, when I was off the road, I would build my business locally. But then when the internet came along, I really kind of got spoiled by the fact that I didn't have to leave my home in order to network. And I think that in many ways, networking has become a very lost art. I'm headed out to a conference very shortly, and my main purpose for going to the conference is to network with people. So let's say I'm brand new to conferences, I'm just starting out in business, and I go to this conference, and I think that, the leads are going to fall from the heavens. Well, first of all, we know that's not true. What would you advise to somebody who goes to a conference and they're going to do face-to-face networking? What is the right approach to that?
Well, first of all, what I do is before I go to the conference, I try to check out who's going to be there so that I'm not trying to find the needle in the haystack. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of prepared to find that person, or even if I can, I will actually call them ahead of time and ask them if we could get together at the conference for coffee, or maybe sit together at one of the meals or whatever. If it's a conference, if it's like, a half a day event or whatever, I would still ask them if we could meet before or after the event. So I try to do my homework and find out what type of people are going to be there. And then if I can, find the list of the people that are going to be there that would be best, fit for me to actually talk to. And then if you don't mind me jumping ahead, even when we talk to them, which is another topic that we should talk about, but the biggest thing that I feel like most people do with networking or forget to do is follow up.
Ooh, yes.
So, but while you're there and you're with them, listen to what they're saying instead of just trying to tell them all about you. It is the biggest part of when you are at a conference. Listen, what I find is people will tell me that they had the best conversations with me, and I find I might have said 3 words because they love it so much when you actually listen.
Absolutely. Well, when you mentioned the follow-up, it's amazing because I get hired by companies still to this day. I work a lot with solo entrepreneurs with micro businesses, but I do speak at conferences and conventions, and I'm actually speaking at the one that I'm going to. And when I'm not speaking, I'm going to be networking. But it's interesting because I do get hired and paid good money to teach people how to network at conferences. And it's that very thing, like, especially in the exhibitors area or the trade show area, I go in and I do some training with them. And one of the big things I teach them is you've got to do the follow-up. And everybody's, oh, yeah, follow up. But they end up doing this very thing, which is interesting that I have this on my desk, a bunch of business cards. And these are cards that I've gotten at networking meetings, conferences, and what I do is every few days I'm going to take that pile today, and no matter what, I'm going to call those people and just connect with them. And the sooner I find that I get in touch with them after the conference, the more result I'll get in building a relationship, because after a few weeks, we forget who we met at conferences. We forget, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. If I didn't have the same thing every day, I would tell you, it'd be like, what did I have for breakfast? So it's like the follow-up is so important. What are some strategies that you could give people as far as the follow-up? Let's say, okay, I've gone to the conference, I've picked up a stack of cards that big, or I've put people in my iPhone. What do I do now?
Well, speaking of the stack of cards, because even though mine are entered in my database, 2 databases actually, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, but what I do often is, I was just trying to quick show one, that I write on the back of it, if I can, a quick note of what we talked about, because once you talk to a bunch of people, you're not going to really remember what you said. So I write notes, so I remember, and also you can see sometimes I hold a corner over. That is to me another way to remember this is somebody really important that you really should follow up first. Because like you said, you get the stack, Well, not that, you know, you don't want to talk to all of them, but if you really do run out of time, make sure you talk to the ones that are
Right.
dog-eared or whatever they're called.
Well, if you had somebody take you hostage at the conference, literally take you hostage, and you know they're trying to get free consulting while you have 20 other people you want to talk to, that seriously, that may be a business card that goes into the round file. It's like,
right?
you know, with some people, it doesn't mean that you met somebody that you have to necessarily follow up. I think it's also about being really targeted, which really what I like about what you're doing with LiinkToExpert is that it is a very targeted approach in networking, where people can network online, but they can also set up meetings if they go to conferences offline. With your expertise and all the people that you interact with, where do you see business heading as far as conferences, as far as online marketing, as far as online networking? What do you see as far as trends in the future?
Well, I actually see what we're already doing, like today, Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm on more Zoom calls probably than phone calls sometimes during
Right.
the day. And so I see more and more people doing what we were talking about, maybe even having coffee together. I mean, I'm a water drinker, so, you know, Kathleen and I are having water.
Here's my
together.
water with chlorophyll in it. So,
you know, it doesn't have to be coffee, but, you know, I find that more people are doing the face-to-face, but online instead of, you know, physically going there. And I even see that a lot of people are recognizing that they have to be smart about their time. Because, you know, like me, I used to be the networking queen. And when I got off the road and tried to get to know who was who in my town, because I used to only sleep here 2 nights a week, I really became the networking queen, meaning I would go to 4 or 5 networking meetings a day just to get to know who was who. But and don't get me wrong, it paid off because I got to know a lot of people. But the real thing I think that came out of it was my mentor taught me. He says, Joe, it doesn't matter how many people you know. It matters how many know you and what you can do for them. Oh my goodness, Kathleen, that blew me away. That made me want to cry because I was so proud that I knew all these people. I had all these people, you know, in my database, in my cell phones. I mean, I went to Nextel back in the 90s and asked them what was wrong with my cell phone. That was when the cell phones basically came out. I said, I couldn't add any more people. They said, well, we never knew anybody that knew more than 800 people. Wow. And that was, you know, in the 90s. Right. So, you know, but I really feel like we get it mixed up. We're thinking that we have to know all these people. And not that that's not important. I don't mean that. But if they don't know who you are and what you can do for them. So again, listen to them. And then after they speak, you say, isn't that interesting? I could do something to help you with whatever they just talked about, instead of trying to run on and on and on and on about what you can do for them and not listen and not even know if they're a good prospect. So even though I make these appointments ahead of time, that doesn't mean they're always the right fit when I get to talk to them. So another future trend, I think, is that for me, this is what I see over and over, because people constantly complain about the younger generation that they're not paying.
Those kids.
Yes. But I really find, because I was a mentor for the MBA students at University of Tampa for 10 years. So I got to hang out with a lot of them. Some of them were our age, though. It wasn't like they were all kids. But I got to meet with so many international students and coach them and work with them. And actually, I often feel like they actually taught me more than I taught them. But the point is, I see that the way they do it, they actually are more into not working behind a desk, not working in an office 9 to 5, but instead working from wherever, as well as not just from wherever. Just give me a deadline. Tell me what I'm supposed to do, and I'll do what you're expecting me to do, versus sit there for 10 hours that day and really not be accomplishing anything. So I feel like they're teaching us, if you will, older generations, that is important to be performance-based. And that actually goes back to meaning the consultants, coaches, team builders, trainers, facilitators, authors. When you hired them to do a specific project to accomplish a certain thing, and you only pay for that. And that's one of the reasons they're now independent solo entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them, business owners, because of the fact that usually they got laid off from their job because they did have a higher level of expertise in a specific area, but that company did not need them every day,
Right.
12 months a year. They might have only needed them 3 months out of the year. So now they can still hire them on a contract basis.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big trend I see, so that you get to know who's who, but you get to know who you want to hire for what projects, and but make sure you're also clear about what you want to accomplish.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's a different subject, but meaning I feel like a trend is really where more and more people are becoming entrepreneurs, whether they're getting downsized, right-sized, or choosing to leave corporate America because they really do want to do what they do best instead of just sitting there doing the busy work.
Right. And as boomers, we were taught busy work. We were taught, hours equated to results, which is not necessarily true. It's like performance equates to results. And I was talking to a gentleman recently. He's probably in his 30s and he could retire right now if he wanted to. And he said, I don't want to work that hard. He goes, that may sound ridiculous, but I know how much I want to make. I know the quality of life I want, and I don't want to work myself to death. And, we saw our parents really work hard, and it was like that. That's what they taught us. And the younger generation, quite seriously, I think they have more figured out than we give them credit for. Speaking of quality of life, when you're not working, what are some of the things that you like to do on the side? I normally don't ask that to people, but I'm just kind of curious. What are your hobbies and what are your pleasure things?
Well, my very, very favorite sport is masterminding. Like even what we're doing right now is this form of masterminding.
Uh-huh.
Talking about things, trying to figure things out, trying to see what's kind of coming up, what's new, creating things. When I have the idea, then sitting down with a bunch of people and getting their ideas. So that's probably my number one fun thing. But I do so many fun things. I'm a member of like the Tampa Bay Film Society. So I hang out with these actors and directors and producers, screenwriters, because I love to learn about what different industries do and how that can affect what we do. Like meaning we need a lot of those types of people to help create really cool sizzle reels or whatever to make them more attractive. I go to the Art and Music Center here locally almost every Wednesday. We have open mic night. We have impromptu. We have tonight is adult show and tell. You bring something and you talk about it just like you did in kindergarten.
Adult show and tell. I'm not even going to ask what they might be bringing.
No. Like last time when I brought
That's where my mind goes. It's like adult show and tell. Okay.
No, I actually brought all my boarding passes from those million miles.
Okay.
Boarding passes. Because back then, you actually physically got a boarding pass instead of now you just show it on your phone.
Absolutely.
So I had 6 stacks of boarding passes.
Wow.
I actually belong to so many things. I do Tai Chi Do almost every Sunday morning. And
Tai Chi Do? What's that?
Tai Chi Do.
Oh, Tai Chi.
It's kind of like Tai Chi and Tai. But it's also spiritual, and it's also you do it in a circle, and it's really to stay connected with Mother Earth and stuff. I actually do grounding every single morning somewhere in nature, because I am one of those people that I always have these ideas and I get so excited about life and I just want to do all these things. So I have to first ground myself and say, slow down, calm down, one step at a time.
Right.
So I do that. I mean, I could go on and on. I have a wonderful, fabulous grandson. He's 8 years old. We play soccer, we play tennis, football, basketball, you name it. We hang out together at least 1 or 2 days a week. I don't know. I just love life. I just have so much fun. I belong to lots of other affiliate groups that we belong to, so I go to their meetings. I mean, I'm never bored.
Well, and that's what I got from our first conversation. I mean, it was so high energy, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing, because, how you are on the phone really says a lot about a person. And that's why I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to have this conversation with you. And what I'd like to know is, with a lot of people coming into business, what would be besides the networking that we talked about and what they do at conferences, what's your number one tip for somebody who's thinking of starting a business?
The first thing that came to mind was make sure that you have enough money to live for a few years,
Ah,
without making money. Because I think people have this idea, Kathleen, that they're going to start a business kind of like that you can build it and they'll come, that
right,
old
right,
saying. And I also feel like that with that, yes, I'm not trying to be negative and say you're not going to make money, but have a backup. Like with me, before I started, I made sure I had all my bills paid off, all my debts. All I had was a mortgage, like the minimum stuff. And it really helped, because if I would have went into it without that, I probably would have been more stressed.
right,
Because what I know is the more I know I don't know, the more I want to know. And when you go in business, you kind of think you know all this stuff because you were working maybe in a business similar to it, but you don't realize all the different aspects of the business. Like, especially with, we work with a lot of experts, and with the experts, they're really, really fantastic and terrific, and have the education, have the experience and everything in a certain area of expertise. But that doesn't mean they know how to do QuickBooks. That doesn't mean they know how to, like you even just said about picking up the phone and calling people. Sometimes they think they're going to write one blog and the whole world's going to know about them and call them,
yeah,
that their phone's going to ring off the hook. They don't know about marketing. They don't know about, sales. And again, not that I know about their expertise, so I'm not knocking them, but I grew up in sales and marketing, and I know how you have to consistently and frequently stay in front of people. So that's another thing. Have a real plan, not just the finances, but, have at least a 1 year plan of what you were going to do and what you're going to accomplish. And then also even have a coach or somebody to keep you accountable.
right,
Because
right,
it's so easy when you're on your own to get through that whole day and not even make the one phone call and have all these excuses that you were just busy. Like you picked up that pile of cards and you sliced it and you knew that you had to call those people.
right,
You have to have goals every day. Maybe like with me, I use a CRM. So when I talk to people, I always ask what's the next step. And then I put them in my database to call them again in a week, a day, a month, whatever it
right,
is that we
right.
talked about, that what's the next step. But you have to consistently and frequently keep up with what you are doing and how you could do it better, and how you could, I love what you actually say a lot of times, is how we surround ourselves with people.
Hmm.
So the other part about a business is masterminding. Like I was saying about how I love it, that's how I create all these incredible platforms and stuff. It's not just me coming up with it myself.
Right,
I work with different groups of women, or men and women, and they give me ideas, and we expand upon it, and try to see what would work, what wouldn't work, how it would work. I love to hear from them what they've done, what worked, what didn't work. So I would really, 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 really recommend that they would either have a coach or a mastermind group that they could work with on a regular basis. I mean, I'm talking about at least monthly, and some
right.
of them I've been in weekly, and it seems like it's too much time, but it saves you actually time
You
and
get
money.
yeah, you definitely get results from that. And I've had some of the best coaches around, and I've invested a lot of money. And I remember one mastermind I went to, this gentleman, he presented an idea. It was a paid mastermind. I was paying, I think, for that one, $10,000 a year.
See?
And plus I had to travel out to the location. The most I've paid is $30,000 in a year to the coach, but
But
then there was the
congratulations.
travel there. Yeah, absolutely. And, so at this one meeting, this gentleman, he presented an idea. I implemented it at the next opportunity I had. It was something to do with speaking. And I tracked over $100,000 worth of business to that one idea. And,
Yay!
yeah. And sometimes people don't look at where their business really comes from, that something they may have done 2 years ago, it may take a while for it to grow and develop. But then if they really look at it, they go, oh, if I wouldn't have been at that one conference or that one networking meeting or had that one mentor who gave me that one idea. But the big thing I also see is you have to apply the information. Lately, I've been going going to a chiropractor because I work out a lot, I run, and so I'm getting some treatments. And from the first meeting, he said, okay, here's what I want you to do. And he gave me a protocol. So when I went in for my second adjustment, he goes, well, did you do this? I said, yes. Did you do this? Yes. Did you do this? I said, yes. He said, you've done everything I've asked. And I said, why wouldn't I? He goes, you would be amazed the number of patients I work on that don't do what I ask them to do. And I said, you would be amazed at the number of people who hire coaches like me, and they pay us big bucks, but then they don't do the work. And then they go, well, that didn't work. It's like, no, you didn't do the work. I have one client right now. She had a stroke 6 years ago. She wrote a book called Stroke Forward, and Marcia Moran is her name. And she is my dream client, because not only is she eager to get the idea, she applies everything I recommend, and she is getting incredible results. We've been working together for about 2 or 3 months now, and she's already got speaking engagements. She's been on a number of podcast shows. She's starting to blog on a regular basis. She's doing social media, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. And when I tell her what a great client she is, she goes, oh, I bet you say that to everybody. I said, oh, no, I don't. So, well, Joanne, it has been delightful, and I've been speaking with Joanne Weiland of LiinkToExpert.com. That's LiinkToExpert.com. Check it out. It's a great platform. It's a great community. And in closing, is there anything else you'd like to say, Joanne?
Well, I just always love what you tell people, like, go big, go home. And I really believe that too. And I feel like you need to look larger than life. So all the things Kathleen also recommends, like, being on different shows, podcasts, different things, and being out there speaking and stuff, you really do need to do that to look big. And and the more you do, the more you'll get invited to do. So just think big.
Great. Thank you so much, Joanne Weiland of LiinkToExpert. And this is Kathleen Gage with Power Up for Profits podcast, wishing you a great day. Go out and play big.